Alrighty guys, welcome back to the G-Man Show. Today we're taking a look at a Chris Boy video. They are stealing the working class's retirement. Let's watch, comment, and most of all, have a good time.
And there's a new tax coming in, more taxes for Australians. Would you believe it? One of the most taxed countries in the world getting more taxes comes through. And this new tax coming through from the Australian government, it's a tax on our superannuation. It's a tax on our superannuation balance when it reaches over $3 million. And after it reaches $3 million, each dollar over that $3 million value is going to be taxed at 15%. Now,
You just watch, this is just the start. This is just a start. So I actually agree with the underlying tone of his video, but I'm going to make some comments and critique along the way. But guys, this is just the start of more taxes coming into Australia. They push them through as, oh, it'll just be for the wealthy people. It's only 0.5% of superannuation balances over $3 million. And as we're going to talk about a bit further in this video, okay, that's in today's dollars. What happens if you don't index it for 20 years, 10 years? That percentage becomes bigger over time, just like the top bracket creep when it comes to personal income tax. It is absolutely by design. So we got taxes on unrealized profits from superannuation balances. Next, it'll be unrealized gains on any property. You mark my words, this will come in. It might not be next year, the year after, but it's coming. Full-blown commie state we're living in, especially Victoria here. When I say state, I'm talking about Victoria.
I'm a little bit torn on this one because I do believe there should be a wealth tax, but I don't...
Okay, no. I know I stopped it again. No, I don't believe there should be a wealth tax. Why should people be taxed on their hard work and therefore success in life? You get people want the wealthy to be taxed until, and this is what this video is about, until they realise that, oh, hang on, these taxes might affect me at some point. Actually, no, I don't like that tax. I want other people to be taxed, just not me. That's the huge thing about Australia. There's a huge tall poppy syndrome, people who have done well for themselves, people who have that $3 million balance. They didn't get it for free. They've already paid tax on their income. Why are they going to be taxed even more? Oh, no, tax the rich, tax the wealthy, and we can use the money. Yeah, give it to me. And the government's not going to actually give the money to you. They're just going to take it and waste it on other stuff and continue taxing more and more and blowing out more and more debt.
Believe that wealth tax should be applied to the majority of people and also to the working class's retirement. Shouldn't be happening that way. But this new tax is directly targeting it. So let's talk through this new tax. And I'm going to use an example, and I like to use the median income in Australia. So the median income in Australia is $67,000 per year. Now, I don't like to use the average or anything like that, guys, because the average can be completely skewed. When we start talking about average incomes, I could say, well, one person earns $950,000 per year, another person earns $50,000 per year. And then when you work out the average between the two, it says, well, the average income's $500,000. $500,000 is not a great example of what the average income in Australia is. So that's why I like to use the median income. It's much more reflective of the populace, much more reflective of the working class in this country. So from July this year, the superannuation contribution, so the amount that the person on the median income or anyone in the working class, their contribution from their employer is going to be 12% of their income. So from $67,000, when you take out that 12% then is taxed at 15%, not the new tax, but 15% is your contribution tax across. So someone on $67,000 per year, their annual contribution across to their super based off their income after that 15% tax is applied is going to be about $6,100 per year. Now, when it comes down to the annual return on the super fund, I will use the average for that. So 8% per year over the last 40 years has been the average. So someone's contributing through $6,100 per year towards it after that 15% tax, and they're seeing an 8% per year return from their super. So starting from July, say if someone's 18 years old, they're fresh to the workforce in Australia, they pick up a job on the median income of $67,000 per year, they're chipping away across 47 years of work. It's a long time, but say they target to retire at 65. That's 47 years of working. So if they just chip away through 6,100 per year, contributing in after that 15% initial tax for their contribution tax on it, and they're seeing an 8% return from it, well, when they hit 65, they're going to have 2,750,000 roughly sitting in their super balance.
Oh, getting a little bit close to that 3 million, Chris. Now we don't like the tax. I know what he's going to say here too. He'll say, well, but you're not always going to be on 67,000. That's only the median in today's dollars. And that median is going to inflate by inflation every single year, which is going to then push the Aussie battler, the working class, over 3 million, and therefore superannuation balances are going to be rated at 30% instead of the 15. There we go. It is all by design. If you couldn't see this coming, if you can't work this out, well, I feel sorry for you. If it is truly a tax on the wealthy, like they're saying, it should be indexed. So that 3 million should become 3,030,000 next year, assuming a 3% indexation rate. But no. It's not going to be indexed, and more people every year are going to be pushed over into that 3 million bracket over time. Obviously not tomorrow, over time, and that's big dollars for the government. Mr. Government Man. It's just the beginning.
And yeah, it's a lot of money, but you think at the same time, well, you know, that's fine. Someone on the median income, going through all that work, all them years, it hasn't hit the $3 million mark. So, because it hasn't hit that $3 million mark yet, it's not eligible on the median income for that new super tax, where it's going to start taxing 15% on each dollar over 3 million. So they haven't hit the number. You think, yeah, that's fine. But there's something that we haven't factored here. So the issue with this factoring is that that's assuming that $67,000 per year is going to be paid for the next 47 years, and the wage, or the median wage, isn't going to increase at all. So if we change that factoring a little bit, and bear with me guys, I'm talking numbers here. If we change that factoring just a tad, and say the median wage increases by 2% per year. So each year increases by 2%, 2%, 2%, 2%, all the way through. By the time that 18-year-old starting out on $67,000 per year hits 65, the median wage will be closer to $170,000 per year. Almost, yeah, well, more than $100,000 more than it is right now. And as that median...
Ding, ding, ding. Oh, we don't like that anymore because all these taxes that we thought were a great idea. Let's stick it up the rich people, apparently. Let's stick it up the wealthy, hard-working people who have probably sacrificed a lot, made smart decisions with their money, delayed gratification, invested, started businesses, did years and years and years of education, years and years of grinding, and then in professional jobs to get big money. Now let's tax them because we don't want them having money. Oh, what? It's going to affect me down the line. Oh, no. I don't like that. The government's evil. But this is how they get these things through, right? Because you're going to say, it's 1% of people. And then you're going to have basically the voter base, the good old Labor Party, the Greens people. They're going to want everybody suffering. They're going to want taxation through the roof. Let's have a wealth tax. Let's bring that wealth inequality back in line. So everyone votes for him. That's great because it doesn't affect me. It sounds good. We'll stick it up those high achievers. Oh, no. Oh, what? In 20 years, actually, that's going to be me. Think about this. Think about when they had their highest tax bracket. I think it was at 180,000. Now, I don't know the history of it, but it was set years ago. And that was the top tax bracket at 45 or 47%, whatever it is. Now, back then, not a lot of people were making. That was big bucks 20 years ago, $180,000 or $170,000. I know it's moved marginally since it was brought in. Now, a lot of people are earning over $180,000. That's somebody with a professional job who's probably been there for 10 years plus. That's a lot of people out there. I'm not saying it's the majority, but there's a lot of people out there earning that. Now, back when they would have brought this tax in, it would have been a few percent, the top few percenters who would have paid more. Now it's a huge cohort. This is exactly what they're doing here. So if they don't put indexation on it, which they won't, it is financial engineering at its finest. It's future-proofing taxation income. It is fantastic. But people are starting to catch on. Oh, hang on. I don't know. My kids or my grandkids, they're going to be taxed out the arse. And guys, this is just the start. There'll be more and more.
In wage increases as it goes up each year. That 12% super contribution, that's still in place as well. So the super contribution is going to increase by about 2% per year as it goes through. So that 2,750,000 it's going to be a lot more. It's going to be over the $3 million mark there. So the median wage income earner starting out at 18, working them 47 years, is going to be impacted by this tax. And grain of salt here, guys, bear with me. Once again, just reiterating, it sounds like a lot of money, over $3 million, sounds like a lot of money. But keep in mind, in 47 years down the track for that 18-year-old starting out in July, a Big Mac meal from McDonald's is probably going to cost over $100 just to order it. If you're trying to feed a family, probably $200, $250 just for McDonald's. So the cost of goods are going to keep going up. And I use that 2% example. If CPI is 3 to 3.5%, I've used 2% as in kind of a critical example, saying that wages aren't growing at the same rate as the cost of goods are going up. So wages are falling behind the cost of living.
That's right. And there's going to be far more wealth erosion as we go. What do you think that he's talking about the inflation rate? The inflation rate's not 3 or 4%, the headline rate. Go to any supermarket. Go look at the shelves. Go get your electricity bill. Go look at your gas bill. Look at your water charges. Everything's going up by far more than 3% or 4%, whatever they're saying that number is, or 2.9% that the RBA is saying. That is just a cherry-picked number calculated through, I don't even know, whatever magic they do to get that. But the everyday person out there is feeling it a lot more than 3%. And yes, wages aren't going up in line with inflation. Generally, pay rises aren't going to keep up. They're going to be under inflation because businesses can't also afford to keep paying people 3 and 4 and 5% a year to keep up with inflation. That's why that happens. It isn't like, well, inflation goes up, then wages go up the same and we just move the water market up. No, money, the power of money and value over time it has been eroded. If you go look at any chart of the value of the dollar, go look back from like the 1950s. It's like a fraction of what it was back then.
For the next 47 years, and they're going to end up on $170,000 a year, and then their superannuation is going to get taxed to smithereens. Their retirement is going to get taxed to smithereens. But coming back to point here,
but that's okay when it happens to someone who's got that $3 million already. Like, why is that okay now to take to whack an extra 15% on the superannuation balance? I don't know if it's an annual thing or what. Like, who knows how they're going to calculate that? It must be annual. So more or less, they're going to make sure you don't have that extra money. And they're going to create a society of people who just don't care as much anymore to be high achievers, because you get to the end game and they change the rules. Can you imagine that? You've been putting in your super since it came in, since the 80s or 90s, whenever it came in as a widespread thing. You've been diligent thinking you're going to have this fund set up. You might have done well. The super ones performed really well over the last 30, 40 years. Oh, now they're increasing the tax. They're changing the rules. Now that it's time for you to retire. Absolute farce. Absolute farce. But as I said, I try not to make this political, but you get the people who vote for Labor. They love more taxes for the rich and the wealthy because they don't want to put in life what it takes to get there to be one of those people. That is the harsh reality of it. And I'm not a rich person. I'm just talking absolute facts here. Let's complain. Let's ask big government to help us. No, big government's going to start taxing them, but those taxes are going to trickle down to you. They're going to make their way to you, dude. Bet my bottom dollar on it.
Person on the median income,
they're even talking about fiddling around with the GST. So the economy's in trouble here. You know, you get Chalmers, he comes out and Elbow and everything's all good here. We're in surplus or whatever. GDP's up. Behind the scenes, it's on fire. And so that's why they're bringing in all these taxes. Think about all the levies and shit they're bringing in. We're living in a communist country. That's essentially it.
To reach $3 million in their superannuation balance based on median wages increasing and from that compound interest as well over a long period of time, especially now that super contributions are at 12% of the wage. They're going to reach that $3 million mark and they're going to exceed that $3 million mark before they retire. Before they hit 65, it's going to go over that balance and it's going to start getting taxed. Before they can even use it, it's going to start getting taxed at 15 cents per dollar. So it's going to shift from just a small percent. I think it's 0.5% right now of people have over 3 million in their super account. It's going to shift from that, based on the trajectory, on the numbers, on the median wage. It's going to shift to half the country. Over 50% of the country will be hit by this tax. If they're starting out at 18 now, over 50% of the country will be hit by this. So people come out of high school in Australia and we're not too financially literate overall. Okay, we're a wealthy country. Financial literacy is not so great.
Yep, and that's all by design. So you can blame people and say they make stupid decisions, which they do. You can't. The general public generally make horrible decisions when it comes to money. Money in one hand and money goes out the other. In comes the money on the middle of the month or the end of the week or whenever you get paid, frequency, and out it goes. You've already planned what you're buying. You're on Amazon. You're sizing your life to what you earn. That is the financial literacy of most people, especially young people. Some people are fortunate to have parents who are very much financially literate and will pass these learnings on to their kids. And those are the people who end up doing quite well. Just grinding out from an early age, knowing not to waste money. I was in that boat, came from immigrant parents, and frugality was a way of life because they didn't want to be poor, and they passed that on to me. And I was able to save and save and grind, and I still do to these days. These are habits that don't leave you, and most people don't do that shit. It's boring. They want to go on the holidays twice a year. They want the brand new car on finance. Always complain and carry on about people wasting money on cars, but you can't stop people from making bad deals. And that's why that industry is keeping on going. Car finance, probably in billions of dollars in this country. And so most people aren't going to understand the impacts of this tax that's coming in and how it's going to impact them in the future, because all it is, it's setting up the future workers, as Chris is rightfully calling out here, to be tax cows. That's really it. As I said, most people don't want to learn. They only start wanting to learn about finance when they get themselves into financial trouble, or if they're really starting to turn a new leaf and trying to clean their finances up, and they start, barefoot investor and all that. And that's good. It's never too late to learn. But what I'm saying is people don't learn this shit when they're teenagers or at university. And they learn it when they're 35 and 40 and 50. And they start going, oh, hang on. Anyway.
People come out of high school not knowing how to do tax. Most people come out of high school with very limited or no understanding of how to budget, how to save, how to invest or anything like that. A lot of people come out of high school with no understanding at all about superannuation, what it is, how it works. The common story of financial literacy was pretty much get yourself a job and buy a house. Get yourself a job and buy a house, and that's your financial literacy in Australia. And it's been that way for a very long time. And you know what? It still works to an extent. For those just a little bit behind on financial literacy.
Doesn't really work too much anymore. Like buying a house, that's a pretty difficult thing to do. It's going to get harder and harder, and it's going to take a lot more time. It's going to take a minimum of 10 years of grinding to get that deposit together for the average person. It's still achievable. A lot of people don't want to move very far away, an hour on the train each way to work or an hour drive. But the people who are willing to do that can get in if they want to grind a lot of time to then be able to buy one of those houses. That's majority of the way these times, unless you get some sort of inheritance or there are people out there who are in a fortunate position to be gifted a property. So different strokes for different folks.
Super is not just money sitting aside from work, from your contributions. It's not just cash sitting aside or anything like that. Your super fund is investing it. They're buying stocks. They're investing in bonds. They're buying REITs, real estate investment trusts, buying into all kinds of assets and stuff. Hopefully they perform well and go up. Hence we got that 8% per year increase on average across super funds in Australia. So it's not cash sitting there. It is invested in assets, and these assets hopefully go up, but they can go down, of course, as well. So it's invested by these trusts, it's invested by these firms. It's not guaranteed, so it can have swings down. And the change with this new tax coming through is that it can tax unrealized gains. So I guess for an unrealized gain, what that is, and a realized gain, say you buy a stock, it goes up in value and then you sell the stock. That difference or that profit is a realized gain. Now, if you buy a stock and it goes up in value but you don't sell it, that's an unrealized gain. So it's not taxed because it hasn't been an event to actually sell it and turn it into profit yet. Now, this new change from the government, this new change to super, can tax unrealized gains on your...
See, it's not a tax if it's an unrealized gain because you need an event to trigger that, right? Well, you know what this is? This is extortion. The same as land tax. You pay land tax on, say you have an investment property or a commercial property and you run a business on that commercial property. Land tax. What do you mean? You haven't had a realised gain on that property, but you need to pay a fee to exist. That's all it is. It's the government putting in subscriptions for your life. That's what this is. It's not tax. Once again, it's money grubbing. You didn't make a profit. You have not had an actual paper gain. That money has not hit your account. You have not received it in any way, and they're taxing it. So what happens if you have a loss? Are they going to just tax it on the years up? You're going to get tax credits when it goes down and you're in the red. I'd love to say that. No, it'll just be when it goes up they'll tax it, or they'll just tax the balance over a certain amount. Like, this is a very interesting set of questions and details that I think are really going to unravel. There's quite a few holes here. I'm ranting today. I'm passionate about this because I just think it's if you can't see what's going on, it's just incredible that people go along with it. And it's funny because they market it in a way that it's only the few are going to get it. It's those evil rich Gina Rineharts, you know, those property investors, that mum and dad investor who has a house. They're the ones who are going to get it, not you. No, you're going to be fine. We're going to use that tax money to make your life better. Yeah. No, they're not.
Your retirement can tax unrealised gains on what the super fund's invested in. And that's a problem. So say you're just over 60, either now or someone down the track in the future, and your super portfolio has just gone over $3 million, you know, fantastic, woohoo. And then you see that 8% growth come through, and just call it for easy numbers, 3,250,000. At the end of the year, that's what your super balance is at. Now, prior, that's fine, just stays there. It keeps accumulating, you keep contributing to it, keeps going up, hopefully. But now, so on this new way that the government's done, or this taxing unrealised gains, what's going to happen from there is that $250,000 difference is going to get taxed at that 15%. So $37,500, government's going to take out a tax.
Yep.
Now, say, hypothetically, the day after, there's a market event that occurs. And on that market event, all the stocks that you're invested in through your super fund drops by 20%. So you lose $650,000 from what's left, and suddenly, you're down to what, 2.6 million, something like that. So the government has taken $37,500 regardless, and then your portfolio's dipped. So you've been taxed on something that you didn't get to realise. You've been taxed on a risk that you're taking with your retirement, and the government.
Yeah, well, yeah, as I said, this guy's got a big problem about it when he thinks it's going to hit him. No one should be taxed on unrealised gains. That is bonkers. That is just garnishing your money. That's all that is. That is the government literally just taking money out of your pocket. It's not tax. Laughing stock of the world if we let this get through. Unrealised gains tax. Are you joking? It's going to next to be property. Next to it will be stocks. I think if they try and do that, I think Labor will get booted out real quick. But who knows? We're here where we are. And I'm not a Liberal guy. I'm not a pro anything. I'm just talking about where we are and who's voting for these policies because they're Labor policies.
Government's still taking their cut out of it, whether you win or lose there. And in this case, you've lost big. Prior to this change, you were just taking that loss without the government taking their cut. Once again, just want to reiterate here, $3 million sounds like a lot. $2.6 million after a stock market crash sounds like a lot of money. But say if you were in the shoes down the track, 40 years or something like that, it's, $100 is going to buy a Big Mac meal. $250 is going to feed the family at McDonald's. So money is going to devalue quite rapidly, especially when we start looking at them scales of time going through. We're already seeing that happening right now where things are getting more and more expensive. Inflation's occurring. And then you apply that inflation over 40 years, 50 years, and things are significantly more expensive. Now, while many of us now won't be hit by this tax at all, when we start looking down the track, say 20 years down the track, when your kids enter the workforce or your grandkids enter the workforce, 20 years down the track, they're all going to be hit by this. if they're working on the median income, so half the country, and they're applying for, they're doing the right things, they're contributing to their super, that 12% per year is going through half of the country. Everyone on the median income is going to be hit by this taxation. And this is the government with no regards whatsoever for the next generation or generations of Australia. No regards, no foresight, but it's going to impact them. So if your kids, grandkids are on the median income, or, bless them, they're doing well. They're up on the average or above the average. They're doing successful in their career. They're definitely...
Oh, but now that people, now the average person is doing well and becoming successful, we can't have these taxes, right? Tax the rich. Tax the rich. Rich is all perspective. You'll have people that are on Centrelink and they think that people making $50,000 are rich. You got people on 50,000 thinking people on 100K are rich, and so forth. What is rich? Everyone is going to be copying this. Absolute basket case, this country.
You're going to get hit by this. So your grandkids, your kids are going to get absolutely gutted by the government. Their retirements are going to get absolutely ripped to bits here. And this is not by accident either. So this is all well planned in advance. How funny is it, or how interesting is it, that in July it reaches 12% superannuation, right? But at the same time in July, they announced this tax on super contributions over $3 million. Coinky dink? I think not. This is just pure financial engineering. It's greed from the Australian government to ensure they can collect as much money as they can. And they're doing it by ripping off the future generations of Australia's retirement funds. Now, for those who are going to be directly impacted with more than $3 million in the superannuation accounts, currently, not 20 years down the track, but right now, they've had a year notice on this, okay? So they know this is coming, they know this is coming through. Their financial advisors have been telling them all this kind of stuff. And what they're doing, guys, is they're going to say, well, if I leave, say I've got $4 million in there, I leave $4 million in there, I'm going to get taxed 15% of $1 million, $150,000 a year. It's just going to dwindle down at 15% the year after, 15% the year after. So instead of just getting taxed on this year after year after year, I'm just going to exit out $1 million or exit out $2 million or whatever they need to do to get underneath that $3 million threshold.
That's what you're going to do, because what's going to happen is all that money is going to get eaten away over $3 million. So if you're being taxed at 15% a year of your balance over $3 million, that is more or less going to erode everything. It's going to it'll make it impossible to be over $3 million. It's incredible this is getting up. The amount. Say you had $10 million in there. What, $1 million a year? They're going to tax you. You're joking. 1.5 million. How is this not being screamed about? Oh, well, if you're on $10 million in your super, you can afford a $1.5 million tax. No, you can't. Who can afford $1.5 million tax? It's all being set up. He's right. They've set it up all in a way so that the contribution superannuation percentage will equate for the average income to be over that in a certain amount of time. And a lot of people are going to get there a lot quicker than that, because a lot of people make pretty good money. They might have professional jobs. I'm not saying all professionals make good money, but say you're a high-earning tradesperson, you're a high-earning office worker, a lawyer, an accountant, something like that. You're probably already on six figures, maybe over 200,000, maybe more. It's just you're going to get there pretty quick, and you're going to be taxed out the arse. It's a last-ditch effort to try and get more money. But the thing is, guys, they get more money, they just spend more money. It's incredible. What's about that thing that happened with Metro Trains, which is in Melbourne? Metro Trains is the train operator for our train network. And it's come out that the government gave them $500 million of taxpayers' money because they're subsidising the fees that people that would be travelling on public transport didn't take during the lockdowns. Incredible.
And they're all dumping it into real estate because the real estate's under their name or underneath a trust they set up for it. Therefore, that's exempt from superannuation. It's exempt from this unrealized gains tax that the government's doing. They're all pulling their money out. They're putting it into real estate. This is just fueling the housing market. You know what? Quinky dink, is this financial engineering again from the government? Who knows, right? But it sure looks like it. More money coming out of super straight into the real estate market. But end of the day, guys, this is the government kicking the can down the road once again. But this time it's your kids, grandkids, great-grandkids. Their retirement's getting gutted. Okay, that 15% is going to apply to everyone on the median income, and eventually, as the years go through, maybe we're 50 years, 60 years down the track, well, you know what it's going to be? It's going to be the people on the minimum wage, their supers being gutted out by this. Now, the fix to it, the solution to it is indexation. So indexation applied across to this $3 million threshold. So if CPI goes up by 3% per year, or 3.5% or 4%, whatever it might be, then
they're not going to do that, because that doesn't increase the pool of people that are going to pay this tax. It's the same as the thresholds for the upper income earners. Why hadn't that really been? What, it got changed to $10,000 a couple of years ago, and before that, I think it was a few $1,000s in early 2010s. It doesn't move the needle in any way. If it was indexed, it'd probably be, the top bracket would be 500K now. That's not going to happen, because that's less tax. All right, guys, see you later. Thanks for hearing my rant. We mostly got through the video. If you want to support Chris, go and check him out. Thank you.